What is happening, my friends out there in YouTube land? Yours truly, Rockin' Dave, the real deal. North Fort Myers, Southwest Florida. Yeah, feast your eyes on that, my friends. The old BC Rich Warlock. This guitar is now 24 years old, maybe almost 25 years old. The pickup was added later, about two or 3 years later. This is the GK2, the GK2A pickup. It came with the Roland GR33. Is that John Dawson? John, what's happening, brother? Thank you for tuning in. I'm sure you've seen this at Naperville Riverwalk, John, because this is one of the guitars I used when one of the last. Well, I did a lot of gigs over there, up there. Naperville is the far west suburb of Chicago, and we used to do a lot of gigs in Naperville. Yeah, so this pickup does also work with any GR guitar synth, because later on we got the GR55 guitar synth, which I have in one of my cases up there. I still have the 33, but the 55 been using mostly. So we got that. We're still living up in Illinois. Then we got it in 2014, and it came with another pickup, which I put on the acoustic guitar. I think, well, what's happening, man? Let's see what John says. Yeah, thank you so much, brother. Really appreciate you tuning in, man. Hey, Dave. Prayers to people. Yeah, absolutely, John. It's sad that these things are going on. It really is, man. Well, we're living in very interesting times, and it is tragic, absolutely tragic. And our prayers go out to those families. On my route, I have an area in Cape Coral. When I make my turn coming out of it's called Mid Cape Road. It's just right down the street from Sunsplash. There's a little miniature golf when I'm making my turn on Santa Barbara Boulevard. Right on the corner, and I guess this happened over the summer. 15-year-old girl, her name's Kenya. I can't remember her last name. Got a picture of her and her memorial right there at the corner. She got hit by a truck. I think it was a box truck on the corner of Santa Barbara Boulevard and Mid Cape Place. Or Mid Cape Point. I go down the street all the time and I don't remember the name of it, but it's right there. And every time I make my right turn, I take a look at that picture and I shake my head, man, because that's a young life that should never happen. And just about an hour or so ago, maybe not even that, maybe about half hour ago, on the news, our local news, they would talk more about what's going to happen with these two teenagers that shot and killed yet another 15-year-old young lady last March, coming back from the movie theater, which is right on my route and on her street, where her memorial is. I pass by it, and I see the flowers right there by the stop sign. And I'm like, man, how tragic is this? And how hard is it for the parents to have to say their final farewells to their kids when it should be the other way around? Very, very tragic. Let me go ahead. Hope I just unplugged the. Let me go and grab my coffee here and my decaf. So, yeah, it is never easy, my friends. Never, never easy. I hope all is well with everyone out there. And I wanted to talk a little bit about a few things because I've seen a couple of videos, not just because I've seen a couple of videos, it's just something I wanted to talk about. Why one of them is this popularity of the amp modeler multi-effects. Let's go ahead and bring this up a little bit so you can see me. And yeah. Oh, so I do have one of my students. Her name is Amanda. Hopefully she sees this. And yeah, this is one of the guitars that I've had next to BC Rich Warlock. This came out in the year 2000, yeah. And I used it at quite a few of my gigs with my metal band Legend. And did some jazz recordings with Jazz Fusion, because these pickups are not real high output, and they seem to work. But the guitar is so comfortable, man. So it's such a killer guitar. You know, just can't beat it. The Floyd Rose systems, I never pop strings. Now, before I get any further on it, these little Dunlop, called the Dunlop Flow Picks. This is a .88 millimeter, and it's kind of flexible. Way different from my Dunlop Max Grip 1.5. For years, I've been using thick picks like this, years. And I thought, well, let's try something a little different to help eliminate breaking strings. And I did pop a string at my gig. Was it Sunday or Monday we did? Yeah. And it's only because I overbent that string. It wasn't because of picking. And then after that, I got stung on the finger with a bee because someone had a beehive and bees were going everywhere, you know. But so this has been kind of helping with not only a string popping, but lately I've been getting a little thing called tennis elbow. And, you know, we're lifting heavy gear, and it's, you know, years and years of doing this and working and everything, and, you know, things are going to happen. Since I switched to this pick when I'm doing my exercise, I have not had any issues with my elbow. I think two factors with the thick pick. It's been helping to contribute to break strings because I have a real strong picking hand. Developed it for, well, now for 40 years. And ironically, this fall, it'll be either the end of September into October is when I started playing guitar 50 years ago, 1974. So I've been playing for a very long time. But for at least 40 years with these intense picking, actually more than 40 years, because in the summer of 1981, I started doing these very intensive picking exercises to help my picking to do basically this. So, for about 45 years now, 43, something like that, very intense picking. So, over the course of time, you know, as you get older, things change. Your body changes, whether you want to face it or not, man. And no one likes facing it. I know I don't. I always like to remain like I'm still in my 20s, but, I mean, my mindset is still like that. And thank God I'm still healthy enough. But I am getting older, and I've noticed changes, so you learn how to adapt to it. Real simple. So, haven't had any issues so far. I'm real thankful for that. So, let me go on and continue here. So, the effect processors, I know they're real popular, and some people knocking on. They're never going to be like my little Fender amp. I got a Fender Hot Rod Deluxe George Benson signature model. All tubes. The thing is great. The processors, the Helix amp, which actually is good, I will give it that. But none of them are going to match an actual tube amp. They do get close to it, okay? But with a tube amp, there's a warmth to it. There's a feel that you just cannot express other than in words, other than if it sounds warm and has this feel that you have to experience. But that being put aside, the effect units, they've come a long way, man. And like I said, I've been playing 50 years now, and I've seen a lot of changes, like a lot of people out there who've been playing for a long time. We've all seen a lot of changes. We either embrace the stuff or we don't embrace it. Some things we like, some things we don't like. But I could give you many reasons that are out there why these units are popular. Whether it's the Boss ME90, the Helix, or the Helix LT, or the Helix Floor, or the Fractal, or the Head Rush, or the Boss GT series, whatever it is. There's a core model. whatever it is, they've advanced. And the convenience of them when you go to a studio. Now, some people still want to go into the amps. I get it, I understand. Especially if you got a nice, good room with good acoustics. When you mic the amp, you just, and if you do a up close cabinet mic and then a room mic, and then you combine the two. But there are times that costs extra because it's extra setup, and there are times you need to get in and out. With the advancement of technology now, these units are sounding better and better, and it's a great thing. Plus, access to the computer, you can hook them up via UPS or UPS. You could hook them up UPS too if you want, but anyways, their convenience, from my point of view, is when you go into house PA system. Now, when I hear people say, "Oh, well, this guy probably never experienced playing in a band, and he never experienced, what's like having amps." Yeah, I have. You know, and there's nothing could ever replace that. When you got amps behind you and that sound, there's nothing to replace that. But I'm going to talk from a point of view of when playing out live. There's a lot of people out there that have a lot of experience, some more than me, and I'll give them that credit. And there are some that had that, and they're no longer playing at these clubs. They're playing other things, and I'm not discrediting them. I'm still playing in these clubs as well as doing our special events, our corporate events, and everything. And I could tell you, I've seen stages shrink. I mean, massively shrink. Or what used to be the stage now is filled with tables. Like the Blue Monkey, if it's still open in Naples. When we first came down here, started playing at the Blue Monkey, we were already set up on the. It's a kind of a small stage. The band could still fit on there, but it wasn't as long and wide as the other area that they had for their stage. They used to have bands play at that area. Now they stuck a whole bunch of booths because the deal is, these restaurant club owners can make more money off those booths than the band. Everything has been changing. So there goes that area. And when you start losing room to bring amps, although one of the gigs I did play at the Blue Monkey, I did bring the Fender amp, and it was surprisingly good, which I knew it was going to sound good, but it came out nice. But you see some of the places I play at. I stream live. Deb and we stream our shows live because not only to spotlight what I'm doing, and to showcase for the places I'm playing at, but so people could see what you might be up against. You might not go through half these things, but you just might. Chances are you will, and just in a different location. So it's good to see this, so you can get yourself prepared. And one of the things you got to keep in mind is when the performer's space starts to shrink, amps don't fit, even big pedal boards don't fit. If I were to go out to buy the Helix, the big one, I would have to buy it as small as possible that would still have a foot, control pedal, like volume pedal, wah pedal. Or buy a mini one, because the stage area shrinks. The picture I took, I still have my GT1. That's a nice size. It fits. Because a lot of areas, man, we're losing our space. That's what's going on. And the convenience of these things, each brand has its own thing. And it might not sound like this or might sound like that. But when you run some of the stuff into a good pair of speakers, PA speakers, they do sound decent. Plus, the reason why I do run through things, my guitar rig through the PA speaker, because I'll do the tracks. Now, people say, well, why use backing tracks? One-man band thing. Can't find a band. No. There's a lot of reasons. One of them, when we were doing all our travel, when you start going from state to state, everyone's got to have that schedule. You cannot get that interrupted. Otherwise, you got to start canceling, and you don't want to do that. That's one reason. Another reason was we would do these guitar clinics, and at the time when we were spotlighting our CDs, and people asked, well, How did you come up with this idea against this chord progression and things of that nature? So it's a way to spotlight that, to give an example of what you could do with your phrasing and mixing this scale with this chord pattern and things of that nature. That's one reason. And what I started noticing is that another big reason is club owners either they don't have the money to pay, and mostly that's what it is, and or they don't want to pay. But mostly you're seeing a trend where the money's not there, the interest is not there with live music like it used to be. Now I'm gonna get into that in a moment here because I got a little list of what I want to talk about. But right now I'm gonna stay with the fact on the effect processes. From a gigging musician's point of view, that's why these things get so popular. Because as we lose space to set up and play, you know, some drummers come out with a pad, a small drum pads, and play on that because there's no room for a drum set, even a small drum set. But yet they still want live music. You see what I mean? So if you want the gigs and you want to play at some of these places, you got to kind of learn how to conform a little bit and make things work. I'm not saying every place is like that, but for the most part, a lot of them are. And a lot of those places, they will pay because, especially if you're the one-man band. Here is your advantage. And again, I'm not knocking anybody. I'm not trying to take business away from anybody. But number one, if you're traveling a lot, for me, it's just Deb and myself. So we stay on the same schedule. We don't have to worry. When you start adding other people, now you're adding in working around their schedule. Or they got to work their schedule around the performance. And sometimes they can't do it. So what happens? Then you got to, you know, you have to reschedule everything or replan everything out because it's no longer just your schedule. And if you want to make money with this, you know, you got to understand that. Another reason, with the advantage of being a soloist, is all the tips go to you. Now, I have never had problems splitting the tips when I was playing with Mike. I was always down the middle. And if it was like, it could be an uneven split, a lot of times I'd give him a little bit more, you know, only because he's singing and I'm not. And and it's for me, it's out of mutual respect. You know, it really out of mutual respect. Because even though I'm playing and we're using our gig, then we use some of his gear too, but, you know, he's still singing and the thing is with vocalists, if they have a day where they get a little bit of a cold, it's tough, man. It's tough. It's not easy. So I honestly think they do have it harder than us guitar players who don't sing. They really do. Now, the advantage of these multi-effect units with the amp modeling, again, if you have to go through the PA and you need to use tracks, if you've ever ran tracks through a guitar rig, you know, it's still, no matter how good that rig is, it still sounds very boxy because it's basically set for guitar, and guitar sits in more of the mid-range. So that means all your tracks are going to come out boxy because it's coming out of something that's mid-range, not full range. Even though the PAs, some are small, as those QSCs we got 8-inch, we got 3 8-inch cabinets and 2 12-inch cabinets, and 12-inch are nice and compact and small, and very powerful. So when they say size matters, yeah, it does matter because look at where you're playing at. You gotta think things out, man, if you want to get the gig. That is how this is the new generation of gigging. And again, I know because I'm out there playing. And I'm not saying I'm better. I'm saying it's to be better. No, I'm saying because it's a fact. So whether a person likes what I do or don't like what I do, if you want to learn, this our YouTube channel really is geared to the gigging musician as well as, you know, tutorials and some of the stuff we see down here in Southwest Florida and that. But it primarily is a guitar gigging channel. So, with that being said, if a person wants to see one aspect of gigging, well, you can watch. I leave all those live streams up. You don't have to like the video. You don't have to like the sound. A lot of times, if the sound gets funky, be the area you're playing at, or sometimes YouTube, but sometimes it gets pixelated. Or we used to have that problem. But we stream it live anyways because we want people to see what you're going to be up against without any editing. Now, we got cameras. We could definitely, bring the cameras out and video shoot, and then we got to, load them up, and then if we want to edit them or whatever, and, all that takes time, and our schedule is not really conducive to do all that right now. So to click with the phone and go, it works great. Because the point is to get the watcher to see exactly what's going on. We put the headphones on. Here's one thing with doing one-man band and the backing tracks when you're recording from your phone. It's a little bit easier to control volume-wise, as opposed to if you bring a live drummer, and as soon as you start hitting those cymbals, they're splashing everywhere, man. And it's going to sound like, a live band, maybe even in a garage. It's not because the band is not good, it's because it's the way the sound is. And sometimes that loud pounding, these phones, I don't know if their volume or if their mic volume is set for one reason, and it just peaks and peaks and peaks, So, but the convenience with these floor units are really the reason why a lot of people use them. Of course we know they're not going to replace a tube amp or, an old Marshall Plexi, or some people with, boutique amps. We know that. And I know some of the modelers, they try to advertise themselves as that. And I know even the Fractal and the Helix and the Headrush, there's like 3 top contenders. There might be Kemper and all that, yeah. And yeah, you're gonna pay some big bucks, but I had kind of changed. Now that about 10 years have gone by with the Helix being in business, now I could see the 10-year gone by and see that it stands the test of time. It holds up. See, now I see it more the justification of spending the money on something like that. And I know it's owned by Yamaha. Yamaha bought into Line 6. And that, anything Yamaha has always been good, man. It really has, without a doubt. And they constantly have updates if you need to download something. And I think that's, that's cool. They're everywhere. You could get a Helix anywhere. And they're becoming like the Shure SM57. They're becoming the standard in the industry, even with some of the recording studios, from what I understand. It's like with the Boss pedals, and I'm using the Boss ME90. I have the ME80 up there. I have an ME70 and ME50 in the storage there, and I got the GT1 up there, or no, in the box there. With the Boss products, you can buy Boss basically anywhere, and everyone knows I was and I'm still liking my Digitech. It's just, hopefully they'll come back, but it's just when this happens for the company, when they get bought out or they get shelved because a bigger company buys into another company, and then they start manipulating because they gotta watch their expenses and they need to eliminate things. Yeah, that was a big wake up for me. And I'm like, okay, I gotta stick with. I gotta find something that works, that I could work with, and that is not gonna be here today, gone tomorrow, and then something happens and can't find it. That's another reality. It's kind of like you buy a car, you get a flat tire, and you have no spare. You gotta find a spare. You need to get to your destination, right? So I know there are some people that hate these things. I've really grown to really like them a lot because of their convenience, and I could pull a good sound out of it. And if it doesn't mess with the performance, as a performer, then you'll have more of a chance of being locked in that zone, because now you don't have yet another thing throwing you off. Like, oh man, my sound's not good. What do I do? Blah, blah. And there are times when you mic some of these amps, man, and you get bad wind, and if something happens, or tube amps. I've had it happen in the past with my older amps. Do this. They'll work, and then all of a sudden at the gig something starts, something goes wrong, and it's one of the tubes. Like, oh but they just sound great. I mean, when they're working, man, they're working great. So, yeah, the Fender Hot Rod Deluxe has only been out a couple of gigs, and the most we keep it here in the studio. I don't know if it's out of production or not, but I like it. So, the convenience of the 4 units, whether it's recording or trying to duplicate different amp sounds as close as possible without, breaking the bank and buying a Marshall Plexi, a Marshall JCM 800, a Vox, a Mesa Boogie Triple and Dual Rectifier or Mark IV. I remember when they did a reissue of the Carlos Santana Boogie, the 112 combo, and that thing's great, man. That thing's awesome. It's like $2,500, man, and that was about maybe 12 years ago. Now it'll be even more. So I know they all sound good, but these things are doing great, So it's not like I don't care about my tone. I do. I really do. We'll run it through the QSC speakers. The secret is running it through a good pair of speakers. That's always the secret. Like with anything, have a good sound system and tweak everything as best you can as possible. What I do like about this ME90, it does have an effects loop. So if I want to get a graphic EQ and run it into the effects loop, I could manipulate. Cause I see this video that one guy was saying the difference between the ME90 and the GX100. The GX100, Boss GX100, which is one of their latest model of processors. It has more of a global EQ, graphic EQ, and parametric EQ, where the ME90 just has it's all knob based. But because of the effects loop, you could add things into that. And what was I saying? Yeah, one thing with Boss, I will give them this. They are in the business with the well, I should say they're not 100% on board with the amp modelers, and I know a lot of people saying, yeah, they're kind of behind, the technology. But what I think what's going on with Boss is they want to create their own identity, and I think this is why their Katana amps have been so popular. They're inexpensive and they sound great. So they're doing the same concept with the ME90 and of course the ME80, but the ME90's has the amp, the cabinet, the IRs built in. Plus, you could download, I think, up to 3 of your own IRs, impulsive response. And with the 90, it does have the AIRD technology, so it's a little bit more up to date. Actually, very much up to date. I think the ME90 really just came out this year, or maybe the trail end of last year. So yeah, it's definitely new. So that's really the main reason why. Plus, if you play in a church, a lot of churches, they don't want to have amps. You go direct, you got in-ear monitors, and that's the way they want to go. So, there's that aspect of it too. Not everything is for everybody. But one of the main reasons why these things are so popular is because they serve a multitude of needs, and I think that's really good. Now, the next topic I want to touch on is this kind of a craze. It's not really anything new, however, it's becoming more and more dominant now. The craze with the sports bar craze. Now we're hitting into a football season in a lot of places. They've always had, their TVs and would broadcast the games. But now, more and more we're seeing where they say, okay, we only have bands instead on a few nights. Now we got to cut Sunday out, and maybe even Monday, or maybe a Saturday because they've got football season. What has been happening is that a lot of places have opted to go sports bar and cut out live entertainment, or drastically cut it out a few nights and just only have like maybe a couple of nights, whereas opposed to like down here we have it almost 7 days a week. A lot of places don't even open up 7 days a week. A lot of places don't even open up all day. So there's always been this shift, and this has been more and more relevant due to Hurricane Ian. It'll be 2 years the end of this month Hurricane Ian hit, and I'll tell you what, there's still destruction. So it altered everything. So what has happened is a lot of times, since they have downsized the music, now it makes it seem even more saturated. But what they're doing is rotating people, which I'm used to that because they used to do that in the old days. But now they have to do a little bit more because they need to figure things out. Plus, for some people who don't know this, when you have bands play, you have to pay into the PROs, which we'll get into that. Now, I do know when they have sporting events, football games and basketball games, and especially the tournaments and Super Bowl and all that. One of our friends, we call him Yucatan Chuck, we talked with him. I'm pretty sure he had mentioned that. Yeah, they do have to pay into some sort of an organization because now they're making money off of the sporting events. So, but see, the difference with that is, I don't know what they got to pay. But the difference is that it's not like with the music, because the music, there's an annual fee they have to pay, plus they got to pay the bands. So when things get slow and oversaturated, and things have been getting oversaturated, that's why people have just been almost what's called the death of music. I'll get into that in a moment here. They start to, pull back, and they start to check out the playing field here. And a restaurant club owner will say, okay, well, no longer do we have the bands pulling in the crowd like we used to. However, when we ever saw these sporting events, that's pulling in the crowd. So why don't we just go that route? I understand they're in the business to make money, not lose money. And I totally get it. And then there are times when bands canceled and they gotta reschedule. Sometimes it's a mess with it. But it is starting to happen more and more. And it's something that people need to be a little bit mindful of when you're going into this. Because, again, these are much different times. So, what I also wanted to talk about is the PROs. Our good friend Joe Winch Project, he had a live stream and he was talking about performance right organizations, BMI and ASCAP, and one called CSAC. Deb's got me registered with all of them. And I know Joe Winch said he was registered with BMI. And Joe's pretty much on the money there. It's a good idea to register with them because it does help protect you. Now, he had, in his video, he was talking about, he wrote some songs, and then years later, he got a check in the mail. It was equivalent to, what would be a paycheck at work. And he was like, wow, this is cool. Because when he first submitted everything, he thought, well, nothing's going to happen, blah, blah, blah. And everything takes time. See, but time's going to go by anyway. So he was able to collect that. And I know we'll get things from that. We have our music registered, and we have them out there as you could license it. When we were still up in Illinois, we ran into a couple young guys from California working on independent films, and they liked my music. They bought all my CDs, and they said they wanted to sample and use it for bits and pieces. And then, we said, sure, okay, and it worked out for them, and it worked out for us. So that's why you want to consider registering with these PROs, because they will protect you. Because there's nothing worse than all of a sudden you get your music out there and you think, no one's gonna do that. No one's gonna want to hear my music or sample it or whatever. And then all of a sudden, little by little, your music's all over the place. And you figure, man, I could make money off of that. That's one aspect to think about. But there's a bigger aspect than that. decaf coffee tastes good, man. House decaf, not. When you don't register your music and someone gets a hold of it and they register it, it's not yours anymore. And they could do a lot of things that you wouldn't want them to do. They could put it in inappropriate videos, and I'm only going to say that, leave it at that. And your name's attached to it, and let's say you work with kids, and all of a sudden your name's floating out there with things that are inappropriate, and mom and dad find out, and all of a sudden, boom, they cut you off, man. But I did not okay that. Well, if you don't protect it, and someone else grabs it, here's another thing to think about without registering. You know, it used to be in the old days, you send a cassette. It was always a cassette tape because that's the era I come from, you know. Where we could record on a cassette. And you write a bunch of songs, and if you mail it to yourself and you don't open up that envelope, then it's proof that it's copywritten. Well, and that was always what they call the poor man's copyright. Now, there's a gal, she's got a YouTube channel. I think her name is Crystal. But she's got a YouTube channel called Top Music Attorney. She goes into a lot of this in depth. She always recommends, register it, man. Register your music. You know, Joe even said, you know, it takes a while to do this. But we used to get the registration forms and in the mail and that, and Deb would fill everything out. And she knows way more about that than I do, but she made sure that we would do it so that we were protected. Because then next thing you know, your music's out there and you can't do anything about it, or even your name. Now, before I'm speaking of names, one of the bands I played in, we did a show, and actually I got a video up with the old Monroe custom guitar. And this video was like 1989. 1989. How old was I? 1989. Well, what was I? 26? Yeah, I think it was 26, 26, something like that. That's not really good, my friends, so I apologize. But mid to late 20s. And I'm using my Monroe custom guitar, and I had an old Philharmonic Strat copy that was actually pretty good. But one of my friends had played another band called Aftermath. He let me use this Les Paul, but he only said, but please, Dave, don't throw the Les Paul around. I says, hey, man, I'll treat it like gold. And I did. And I was very appreciative. He was a really good guy. God, I forget the guy's name now. But he was a really good guy, and I just was so appreciative that he did that. And I treated his guitar like, wow. You know, I just bought a new Cadillac, you know. The name of his band was called Aftermath. And this is where, if you don't copyright, register, trademark, do the things you need to do, this is what happened to him. That was 1989. Quite a few years after that, I think it was mid-90s, anywhere from like 1994 to 1996. You know, up in Illinois, we get a free paper called the Illinois Entertainer. I'm sure they still have it. It's a free music paper. All the bands, all the clubs and everything. They had a column in there called Studio File. All kind of news and that. I remember I had a couple of times my name was in there when we were doing some studio work with some local people in the area. And I mean, you didn't have to, you just send it in and they'd print it. You didn't have to pay for anything. It was cool. But they had an article. And the article went something to the fact that the rapper, Ice Cube, it sounded like won a lawsuit for the name, to copyright the name, Aftermath, for his record label. And the only, I got out of touch with my friend that played in the band Aftermath, and it was the band Aftermath that were going at it. And my only educated guess was they did not register the name or trademark or copyright the name to protect it. Just put it out there, and that's it. Now, I'm not saying Ice Cube is looking through the Illinois Entertainer to see what name he could steal. No, no. He probably thought that name, up himself as well. And then gets wind that there's another band out there, but yeah, he wants to he wants to use that name. So, in that whole process, so you can't just blame one person. There's always a group of people. So in that process, they're probably saying, well, I'll tell you what, man, and I forget what Ice Cube's real name is, but anyway, they said, if you really want, we can pursue it because there's a band in Chicago, it sounds like a heavy metal band. They got that name, but it looks like they didn't trademark the name, so you could grab it. Then I can't remember if it was the band that wanted to fight to protect it. Long story short, probably what happened, the name was not registered. Ice Cube registered name, now he has it. Sorry. The people that used to tell us about just mail the cassette tape or then later the CD, don't open it, it's copyrighted. And then someone else writes something that's real similar to what's on, but they registered it. Guess what? It goes in their favor because they registered. Now you might get lucky. The judge also might be. You'd be surprised how many people are musicians who have professional jobs, my friends. Doctors, lawyers, judges, garbage men, truck drivers. This is not just exclusive to musicians. There's a store that opened up a long time ago called Guitar Center. I've seen grocery store clerks, grocery store managers, people that worked in the deli, buying expensive guitars. Why? Because they were making big bucks. Guitar Center is not going to turn your money away. I'll tell you that right now. Or any other music store. As long as it's not funny money, I'd be glad to take it. So you might get lucky. You got a judge that's a musician. He might say, look, man, this guy he doesn't have the money. He mailed the tape, didn't open up. It's dated a year before you took it, so I'm going to side with him. You might get lucky. But chances are, if they say, well, he registered it, so he's the winner. Sorry. That's why you got to protect yourself, man. It's a different time. It's getting progressively worse. You know the old saying, dog eat dog world? It really is. It really is out there. So when I saw that video, I didn't get a chance to watch the whole thing, Joe. I'll later on watch it. But yeah, you were spot on, man. Spot on. And I'm glad that you were able to get some money, even though it took a while and maybe it was not as much as, it was a nice surprise all at once. But when people think, geez, should I spend extra money to register? Should I do this? You gotta think in this way. Whether you like it or whether you don't like it, time's gonna go by anyway. And if you later on down the road get the idea, man, I want to play this song again, and someone else beats you to the punchline because you didn't register it, they gain access to it, they flip the bill, they registered it, it's theirs now. It could get so bad where you can't even play it out live. And they could do that. I got a feeling this is what happened with Prince. Remember Prince? Not Prince Planet, but Prince. I guess that was part of his name. Prince Nelson Riley. Then remember later on, I think this was in the 90s, the artist formerly known as Prince. I wonder what happened. I could be wrong. But I got a funny feeling the name Prince, like the name Kiss, became a brand, and someone was wise enough to trademark that name and make t-shirts and all kind of stuff because now they own the name. And it got maybe to the point where Prince was like, hey, wait a minute, man, that's me, that's who I am. Sorry you didn't register. I did. I got the money. I own it now. What a coincidence, huh? Your name's Prince and I got a company called Prince. You see, it could be real dirty, man. It could be real dirty. And then he had to go under a different name. Am I saying that could happen? Is going to happen to you? No. Am I saying can it happen to you? Yeah. I'm not going to get anything political, but I will say this. I heard on the news radio all these artists that don't want Trump to use their music at his rallies. And the guy on the news radio was saying, well, so and so made money, so and so made, they made this money, this one's being a crybaby. Maybe they are. But maybe XYZ band, because there was a lot of known bands, the people that bought those rights, they own that now. They're the ones calling the shot. And they're the ones saying, we don't want that. So I'll drop a couple names here. Neil Young, and I think Axl Rose, and Adele, and who else? OJ, the OJ, Kool and the Gang. But you see, you don't understand. They're not the only ones involved. Record labels were involved. People go in there and start buying stuff. They trademark those names, and they start buying the music. Now they own it. And they could buy your music and buy you out, and you not even realize it. And like I said before, now you can't play your own music. Maybe in your bedroom, you don't put it up on YouTube, because now I own it. And I have it right here. No public performance of any kind. Whether it's internet, outside, if you want in your bedroom, to a wall, you play to a wall. How's that? Can't make money out of it, can't perform it. And they could do that. So that's why it's important to protect yourself. Unless something has changed that I'm not aware of, I don't think so. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. So that's why you got to really, just kind of watch everything. One more thing I do want to talk about. There's this guy who's got this YouTube channel. His name is Barry John's Studio Talk. I've seen him a couple of times. I'm an older gentleman like myself. I guess he's lived in a lot of different states. I guess now he's down here in Florida, but he's in the Orlando area. I almost said Orland Park. I got a poster when I played in Orland Park, Illinois, at the Orland Park Public Library. I did a few gigs. That date was Friday, October 17th at 7 p.m. And judging by the Les Paul, it could have been either 2014 or 2015, because we got the Gibson in January 2014. But I digress. This guy with his channel, Barry John's Studio Talk, is up in Orland Park. He had a video up, I think it was just up a few days ago, and it's still up there, about Is Music Dead? And he was talking about, you don't really see bands like you used to. People that go to the music store, mostly our generation, the boomer generation, or they're 40 years and older. Not kids like it used to be. I mean, there's still some kids that are going out there playing. The girl that rides with me, her name's Amanda, she plays. There's another girl that used to ride me, she graduated already. Riley, she plays. She's real good too. There is the exception to the rules. One advantage that a lot of these young kids, this young generation has, is they have YouTube, so they could see what we've done and see the bands we listen to, and things of that nature, and kind of experience the live. You see a lot of the live concerts. Iron Maiden concerts, Judas Priest, and Dio and Sabbath, all kind of stuff. Ozfest. So, nowadays you got the nice flat screen TVs, the surround sound, you plug everything and watch YouTube on TV. It's like, wow, this is great. It's like you're right there, So this younger generation is experiencing what we experienced live right there. Some of them don't like it, but some of them do. So I don't think it's going to entirely die, because the point this guy was saying, Barry was saying that, usually things come back in cycles. However, this has been a long cycle where it's been a decline in interest. Now, he goes on to mention, I guess he had another video, and he was starting to talk about the remarks he got on the comments. Well, maybe you need to go out there and see more bands. And his comment was, well, I live in Orlando, and I go out and, I got the pass to Walt Disney. If you're a Floridian, you get the pass to go to Walt Disney. You get to see all the bands play and all that. And he says, I probably see more bands than a lot of people in 1 year than a lot of people will see in 10 years. And yeah, I believe it. I see it even more because I'm out there playing. What I think has happened, and to address his issue that he was talking about, is music dead? There's nothing new. Yeah, you got all the classic rock bands, but there's nothing like new anymore. Things got stale, and when things start to get stale, it gets old. Now I know I do a lot of my live streaming. I do a lot of repeating. Maybe I can use myself as an example, but I'm doing my own thing. And I always try to evolve. When I get the time and when I got the heart and interest into it, man, zoom in on something new. But when he made the comment that, yeah, it's like there's really nothing new out there. Well, I could tell you from, since I'm out there playing, what goes on. Part of the reason, I'm not saying this is 100%, but part of the reason is, for those of us who remember when we were able to do original music at the clubs. Now this guy Barry said he also lived in Chicago as well as Colorado, and I think Las Vegas and New York. He's lived in a lot of different places. But I do remember throughout the 80s and even into the early 2000s, we would do these all ages shows. And we would have kids that were underage to get into the bars, but on Sunday they would open it up and we have 2 or 3 bands play. Our band would play, and there would be younger kids playing. So it gave them an opportunity. And I'll tell you what, a lot of it was original music. It wasn't covers. Now, the argument was, well, covers suck. People say originals suck. People can't, they don't like it or whatever. I want to hear something that I know and I like. Okay. But that's not the case with every original band. Especially during the metal movement in the 80s, people's playing chops, everything was elevated to a high level. The songwriting was there, the excitement was there, the show production, even on a smaller level, it was still putting on a show. It was there, man. If you could not afford to get on the big stage, or if you could not afford the bigger stages, which back then we'd see 3 killer bands for something like maybe $15 at the Rosemont Horizon. I know hourly wages were way low back then. But if you couldn't afford to see that, well, you go to the local club, man. You see a couple of metal bands playing. It was just as good, if not better. And places, man, we'd pack these places. And the club owners were definitely allowing it because they were seeing, man, how much people was coming. Like, oh my God. The show that we posted up that we did. Ooh, that's going to be what, 23? Yeah, 23 years ago. The show we did at the PC Lounge, our band Legend. Actually, that already passed. That was 23 years ago, August 11th. We were trying to get the gig there, and because we lived in the next town, the club owner says, "Nah, you don't live here. Nah, you don't live here." And then finally, he gives in, and we told him, "I'll tell you what, you don't have to pay us. We'll just keep what's at the door." Because he thought, he was have to pay us up front, like I said, no, Deb and I, we negotiated. We'll keep we'll do a cover charge, but what's ours? Okay. He crapped his drawers, man, because we packed that place. We had that place so packed that he would offer me, if I even wanted to use his restaurant, his club, and use their stage just to rehearse. He was blown away, man. How many times he ran out of a keg, he had to go back and get another keg, or go back and get another keg, or he couldn't believe it, man. And we had Deb's old PA system, when she sold her sound company. I mean, it was badass, man. It was badass, and that club owner was like, whoa. He miscalculated that one. But pleasant surprise, because the register rang and we were putting money in our pocket, and it was a win-win for everybody. Now, let me get on to what Barry was saying, and I know what he means. It seems like the music's dead. Part of this reason, and he mentioned about, you got these cover bands, you got these dream bands, that's part of the reason. That really is part of the reason. I'm not saying these people are not good. Some of them are, some of them aren't, as we know. But what happens is when you have, let's say, well, there's so many now different kind of tributes, but let's take like some of the more popular ones. You know, if we got a Led Zeppelin tribute, a Rolling Stones tribute, a Kiss tribute, AC/DC tribute, Journey tribute, and let's see, Sabbath tribute. When you got, let's say, 5 or 6 top bands, and then of course Pink Floyd, so let's say 7, because Amanda, she's seen a really good Pink Floyd tribute band, and all good. But the problem is this: when you have, let's say, let's put in a category of 10 top bands that they spawned off all these tribute bands. And then you have, let's say, between 150 and 200 bands or musicians in that area playing that music on a weekly basis. It is not going to take long to get burnt out on it. And it become like, okay. You know, when we do our live stream and it seems like the audience is not really interested, sometimes they're not. Sometimes they are. Sometimes they're not. But you want to know something? It's like that with everybody. Because the last time we played at Diamond is the band's playing there. Oh, actually, I think we went there to meet with Craig. Band's playing there. They went up to start playing, and people sitting at the bar like this. Band's rocking out, and they're like this at the bar. They're not even. It's like they have no rhythm. How could you not have? How could you? It's like they're not even alive. It's like they don't like music. It's like, you know, the band gets hired, but we're interrupting the people sitting at the bar. Okay? If they don't want to hear music, then don't hire it. But, you know, it's always a prediction. Let's get something in because, and this is what happens with a lot of club owners. And I can't fault them because they're in the business to make money. You know, hot dogs, hamburgers, fish, spaghetti, tuna fish, chicken of the sea, and all this other stuff. That's why the menu's got, the bigger the menu is, hopefully they got some cooks that could really cook that, or it's very good, or it's a guessing game. Jeez, I don't know what kind of neighborhood do we live in. We got people over here that like soul food. We got people over here that like Mexican food. We got people. Let's get everything in here, you know. We'll worry about it later. They do that with the music too. And how do I know that? I'm not gonna tell you. Well, I didn't get the gal's name, but one of the places I called up in Sarasota, and as soon as I mentioned that I'm down here in the Fort Myers, Cape Coral area, we're talking music, she laughed, man. She laughed. She said, you know what? That area is known as, this is what she said, of having the worst music scene in this side of Florida. We hired a waitress who used to live down there. Now she's up here in Sarasota. And she's telling me, because I asked the lady, I said, so you guys really do have all styles of music? Yeah, we're not like, and she asked me where I'm calling from. I told her I'm from North Fort Myers and that in the area. She said, oh. She says, no, we really do have all kinds of music. Not like that area where you're at. No, that's not a music scene. She laughed. She said, everyone knows that's the worst music scene down here, man. She said, we really do have multiple styles of music. And she says, matter of fact, I hired a waitress. The waitress tells me she worked at one of those places down in Cape Coral, and said the manager used to tell her when people call about the music and they ask, you have live music? Yeah, we have live music. Well, what kind of music do you have? We have everything. We even have yodelers. Oh, nice. Oh, you have jazz too? I got people coming from New York, and they, you know what, they have live jazz. You like, you know, Dave Brubeck? Okay, come on. So we'll come in. Okay. Then they go down. Do you have anyone playing tonight? Saturday or in the afternoon? Yeah, we have somebody. Yeah, they do everything. Mm-hmm. They get there. I'm not knocking it. But then one guy told me, I'm hearing Sweet Home Alabama, which is a great song. Leonard Skinner's a great band. I'm hearing Crazy Train. I'm hearing, and the one guy says, I like rock music, but I also like jazz. And I have people that come down that they don't like the rock and pop. They like jazz. I was told that they have that, and we're listening to everything but that. This girl lied to me. That's what this waitress said. Told this manager. They are told to tell people anything just to get him in because we're desperate. Real sad. So when Barry says about they only have like I guess on the Orlando area they only have the metal, and he's a former metalhead. He likes it or the classic rock, but they don't have anything else because it's so burnt out. And I'm saying, look, I love the rock, I love the metal. It's fun to play, it's great, but when it's done every single night, the same type of thing, and there's nothing different, then what happens is the people who want something different, they have nowhere to go. Nowhere to go. So they quit going to those places. And then the crowd that is there, if they're not getting into fights, I've seen that. Or leaving the place so S-faced drunk, crap drunk, that they get into an accident and they shut down the place because where was the last place you went? Oh, it was over here. Oh, overserved. So what happens is that it gets very stale. It gets very, very stale. And I think the point that this guy Barry was saying is that music is music dead? The club owners, not knocking in you guys out there, okay? You got it tough. I understand you have overhead, 100%. You need to do what you need to do, but they are trying. And I'll give this. They'll have trivia night. They'll have maybe karaoke, and then a lot of people say, I don't want to hear that. Sometimes there's some good people that you won't have a chance to hear. But they don't really open up the doors like back in the day. You know, a lot of these people that have these restaurants down here, they're from the Midwest, or they're from New York, or they're from maybe Minnesota. You know, they're from other areas. And if they're my age, they can remember a time when the clubs would have different styles of music. I mean, really different styles of music. Monday would usually be blues night, Sundays would be jazz, and Saturday and Fridays and Saturday would be rock and pop and metal, even if they had it. And if they had anything during the week, maybe a little bit of folk, maybe a little bit of country. They had something for everybody. The same restaurant, different nights, different people, different styles of music. And they were making money. But when they all want to go one route, and it gets burnt out, and basically this is what this sounds like Barry was talking about, it gets burnt out. The interest isn't there. And then now when you add to the equation the saturation, it devalues it even more. When there's more supply than demand, it's right there in the word. There's more supply than demand. There's not enough demand in it. We heard it already. We're kind of tired. I've heard people say that they would like to go to a place where they don't have music because they don't want to hear it. They're just tired of it. They're tired of it. I know I mentioned this before. You go to the gas station, the pump's playing music. Grocery store, you're hearing music. And, you know, modern music. When classic hits and all that, you're bombarded with it to the point where it isn't unique anymore. It's not new. And that's part of what's happening. Now, add to the equation here that there was one place down here and they closed. I got a YouTube video of me playing last March, a place called Ollie's. Now, this guy, his whole concept to me seemed like he wanted to have a place for a lot of the younger kids to go come and play. And it seems more geared to punk rock. I'm not really big into punk rock, but I will give this guy credit. He was trying to give these kids a creative outlet. And, you know, he closed. Now they have nowhere to go. I personally, I was always like rock and metal and that. That was a big part of me. But I do like a lot of the jazz fusion. And I love instrumental music because I feel there's a lot of expression you can play. Plus, I can't sing, so. But there's a lot of expression you could play into your instrument. For whatever reason, some of these people think if you don't sing, it's not music. Well, I hate to bust your bubble. If you're not singing, it's 100% pure music. You could get to the point where you are playing the vocal melody, what I can hear, and they still don't understand. They allow themselves to get dumbed down so bad. So in other words, you mean to tell me You mean to tell me you don't know what this is? You don't know what that is? I didn't sing it, but you don't know what that is? Are you kidding me? Or if I'm playing the Journey song, or the, I call it the Beagles song, or the song Lady. Yeah, but you're not singing. Let me ask you this question. Would you rather hear someone sing something horribly off key? Or would you like to hear something in key that sounds good? I don't know. When I go to a restaurant, I don't, hopefully the guy that's the cook behind the counter, he's not there with a YouTube video. How to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Gee, does the jelly go on first or the peanut butter? Let's YouTube it. Does the jelly go on? I mean, if it's that bad, then sorry, you don't belong in the kitchen. Yeah, but he looks good with the apron on. And his mom knows the father that used to own the place before he died and sold it to the other person, and y'all know each other. But yeah, that's nice. Yeah, but he can't cook. I know he can't cook, but he's a cool guy. That's nice, and you hire him to be the host, right? You don't put him behind the oven there. Meanwhile, the smoke detector's going off, the steak's burning, it comes down, looks like a hockey puck. You know what I mean? But see, it's the same concept. And the reason why I'm mentioning this is because this is an ongoing thing. Some of the reason that you have what you have is some of these restaurant club owners, they're like, man, we need another cover band, another AC/DC cover band. We had 6 of them so far, let's have 7. I'm only saying that figuratively speaking. I'm not trying to bust anybody's bubble or anything, but I'm just stating a fact. And that is the reality. That's what's going on. There's nothing new. People are afraid to actually, the only time you see anything new is you go to an open mic, and then there you have your original music. And some people are really good at it. I bet you if I go to a karaoke, and I take my guitar, and I take the track, the Journey track, something everyone likes to have, play the Journey song, Let's see if I can do a little bit of that. I'm not going to play the whole thing, Why not, right? Wait a minute. You're not singing. Yeah, but I can't sing. You want to hear me sing horribly? Or do you want to hear a song played nice? I'm not looking to win first place as a singer because I'm not singing. But you mean you can't put something in there? No. This is the mentality. It's like a little bit, And they do what they want. But the results is more and more empty seats. And then, they wonder why. And then when I tell them the stories about, how the clubs used to be packed, or when they can remember, because some of them went on a little bit of an acid trip, or, they drank so much they fried their brain cells, smoked too much weed and drank it, and they forgot. And then a little bit of a foggy memory hits them. You know what, that's right. I do kind of remember that. That was some good times. What happened? Times changed. Yeah, times changed. But that's not the only thing that changed. You could still bring that back. I get this a lot. Not everybody is going to like what I'm doing, and that's fine. You are entitled to have your opinion. Trust me, when I go to sleep tonight, I'm not going to cry and wet the bed over it. Trust me. But then, when you get people that do like this, and they come up like what I do, and they come up to me and says, man, this is so refreshing. We loved every moment of it. We don't get a chance to hear this. It's like finally someone doing something that we like. It's like these people are forgotten about. And the difference with these people, they have money. They don't get shit-faced drunk. They don't get obnoxious. They don't argue. They don't go to the bathroom and break a door off the hinge. You know how many times I've seen doors hanging off one hinge? Because they allow the customers to get so drunk. Guys over there trying to pick up another guy's girlfriend or wife. They get into a fight. Or the girl accuses the guy being too nice to the waitress when all he said was thank you. They cannot handle their liquor. That's the problem. And so the guy goes to, I don't know what goes on in the girls, but I'm not going in there unless it's, I have to go real bad and no one's in there and they let me, okay. I'll keep the toilet seat clean, I'll clean up everything, I'll be respectful. Always respect the ladies, my friends. I go through a lot. Respect and honor them. But I know what goes on in the men's room. I've seen it where I go to wash my hands and I go to take the paper towel, you know, the thing, and the thing is falling, it's hanging off the thing. Sinks are hanging because they're getting in fights. Why? Because they can't handle their liquor. I'm only going to say this from my experience. You don't have to like the style of music, but every time I've done something where is a crowd that likes jazz music or upscale music, or you know, even what they call the yacht rock or whatever, something that's not obnoxious, those people, they don't break things, they don't get drunk, they'll buy fine wine, maybe champagne if you have it, they tip good. As an owner, that's the perfect customer right there. Yeah, but I don't like that music. Okay, I've dealt with this before, that's why I'm mentioning this. Go back to those people. Yeah, I want to hear this. I want to hear that. Yeah. You know, play that song where he's out at the bar and he's drunk in there. You know, remember that song? I don't know what you're talking about, sir. Yeah, come on, man. You know, you gotta see. You gotta this. You gotta that. That mentality. That guy comes in drunk already. Now he's getting even drunker. That mentality is what damages these places. But these club owners, they want to allow that because that's their regular. A good regular person, see, a good friend does not let another person get to that point. And if they care about their place, they won't let that happen because now the destruction or the bad reputation or the cops got to come out. What's going on here? It's very sad. What the things I've seen. They do what they want. So that is part of the biggest contributor right there, what has happened with the live music scene and kind of its decline. No, people want to hear this. And that's what they're saying. Meanwhile, a customer of 10 people say, yeah, but we like what he's doing. And I got more friends. And we could bring those friends out. And we have a thing called money. And just for maybe on this day, maybe once a month. No, people want to hear this. Yeah, but I'm a customer. You see, there's this, and then I remember having this conversation, and the lady, she didn't want to hire us because we don't sing and we do different music. That's fine, you do what you want. But the customer was the same. 10 people, 10 different people told me they'd love to come back out. They just happened to be there. And I was not really scheduled to play. This is a while back. We did this. And, you know, we told them what the outcome was. And they're like, well, I know that. I'll talk to the owner because, man, we need someone like you because with these other bands, now granted, the one guy did tell me he likes the rock music. He'll come out. But what he does not like is when people are getting so drunk and out of control. He says, that's why I stopped coming out here. He said, because I can't deal with these people. But they're allowing it. There you go. So they do what they want. It won't take long for that place to be closed. I can tell you that right now. And it might, who knows, might turn into auto parts, AutoZone. Used to be a bar, now it's AutoZone. See? There is another part that's happening that this guy Barry was talking about. That part of it is the internet. It got so saturated people's attention spans are shorter now. It's like it's not special anymore. There was a time when we would buy the record albums, and we, you know, and sometimes there'd be a poster and they'd put it on the wall, and you know, you put the album on, headphones on, and you know, you really appreciated it. You had to wait for the album release to come out, and you went out and you bought it. You actually bought it. You paid, you know, geez, I got $10. I could buy one album. I can't buy two. You know what I mean? So that's how it was. Now with this, it's a catch-22 because we get our music out there, we get everything out that we want, but what it has also done is hurt at the same time. And for this guy Barry he's 100% right about how everything has changed and how it just seems to have died. But there's reasons behind it, and there are parts, you know, it's a good few reasons why. So, yeah, you could go out and support the bands. That's one thing that'll help. But I think mostly, if it's speaking about going out and seeing the bands playing out, your local bands, is if there's a particular person you want to see, don't tell him to keep on trying to get the gig, because I'm gonna tell you right now, we're us musicians. This is what we're doing. You're calling. If you like somebody, you call that club. Hey man, I was there last week and you had this guitar player playing, man, and yeah, I want to see him again. When are you gonna have him back? I've had so many people tell me this. I can actually call these places. Have him come back, man. We'll come back out. I'll bring more people. You guys don't have this, and this is what we like, and we're paying customers. Now, if you don't want our money, that's fine. We'll go somebody else. We'll go somewhere else. Some of the restaurant owners, that's okay. We don't want it. Okay, fine. Those same people that say we don't need your business, when they start to realize, wow, you know, that customer they called, I remember him now. You know, he had a group of people out. And they tipped well. They were polite. They were nice. We had the guy playing the guitar here. No problems. He wasn't irritated. Matter of fact, he gave us shout outs. He's streaming live on his YouTube channel. Wow. They're not coming back. I got to deal with so-and-so who wants more money. So-and-so in the band. They want more and more money. Can't afford to pay them. They argue with me. Then they show up late. Then they're insulting people. Then they're drinking. They're getting drunk. They may not want to admit it to themselves, but right then and there. But as time goes on, they sit down and they start to evaluate. And when they start to see, well, man, maybe we should have that guy come back, because I'm getting these phone calls, man. And they call the guy, and the guy says, sorry, I'm already booked up, man. I gave you the offer. Maybe that's when you should have taken that offer. Ah, man, I'm sorry. I got to make money too. Good luck. And then the place becomes a drifted out memory. So, as tough as it is, don't get belligerent, people, but as tough as it is, just keep moving forward with, you know, what you want to do. As far as what Barry was talking about, he's got to check out his YouTube channel. I mean, the video was put up just a few days ago. And I think he asked about, you know, what's your favorite band or something, you know, put in the comments. I didn't put anything in the comments, but I think I might, you know, make a comment to him and say part of the reason is that club owners don't allow. And what's going to help that is you tell the customers, look, if you like what I'm doing, do me a favor. You know, take my card if you want. And I appreciate that. But call this restaurant owner and tell him that you personally would like to see me come back, because they're going to listen to you. They won't listen to me because I know I'm fishing out to get the gig, but you're the paying customer, and they might listen to you. That right there is a good solution. something to think about if you're out there gigging. You're gonna run into this, man. You're gonna run into this. There's no avoiding it. And like I said, roll with the roller coaster ride, because it's a roller coaster ride. Don't lose your cool. Don't get excited and mad. If a certain restaurant owner pisses you off, don't retaliate. The way to retaliate, if you're gonna retaliate, go the other way. That means you don't eat there. You don't bash the place. You don't tell your friends about that place. You avoid it like a plague. Because I've said this many times before, these people need to make money every single day. They need to make money. Because a lot of these people, especially the newbies into the business, they make a little bit of money, they quit their job, and that's their only source of income. And then when it gets slow, they hit a panic button because they didn't think it out. Usually, when people go into business for themselves, they'll save. Well, it used to be what, a whole year's salary. I think now more. If you're fortunate enough to have anywhere between 2 to 5 years of money saved up, that you could float that boat. You could float your personal cost of living, so that when you get that money coming in from the restaurant, it goes right back to the restaurant. Because you're gonna have slow days, my friends. And if you're already behind in, let's say, your mortgage, your house, and you've been taking the money from there to pay for that, relying on that, and then you're not factoring in your slow season. Like down here in Southwest Florida, we have a slow season. And when it's slow, it's slow. And a lot of places are like that. In season, out of season. And if you didn't save up for that rainy day, and you start dipping into your savings, you're going to push yourself further back, where you're going to be always behind in your bills. And it won't take long for you to have to close up shop, because you're going to run out of money. You're not going to be able to, it's not going to be sustainable. So, be very wise about that. So, for you musicians out there who want to go out there and play, uh, there's a lot of variables. It's fun. There's nothing like it, man. We absolutely love it. It gets tiring, yeah, because we're always on the go, but it's a great, great feeling. And not everything is bad out there, man. Just learn how to have thick skin to let all that bounce off of you, so that you can move forward with a positive outlook. Because you know what, part of your success in getting work is your outlook and your personality. And if you're a good musician, or if you're a good artist, whatever you're doing, that's the big plus right there. But your outlook and your personality, I'll tell you what, people want to work with people who they like, who are easy to work with, who are not drama queens. Don't do that, because you'll close up the doors of opportunity for yourself that way. Anyways, my friends, I hope this has been helpful. I just wanted to talk about that, and see if it could help people out there. That's all it's all about, man. So let's see. We are going to be doing a live stream. We're going to be playing Friday downtown Fort Myers at the Art Walk, which I absolutely love, the Art Walk. Then after that, the next time we'll be downtown Fort Myers will be after 2 weeks after, because we do the first and third Friday of the month. One's the Art Walk and one's the Music Walk. But then Saturday, we're going to be at Miramar Outlets in Estero, which is just south of Fort Myers. So we'll stream those live as well, and see if we get some new songs coming out, which we're going to definitely be working on. So anyways, guys, thank you for tuning in. I hope it's been helpful. And if you want to leave in the comments what you think, any of your experience, if you're anyone out there is playing out, if you want to leave a comment, just use what could help you, you know. And again, if you got anything, share your experiences, because it helps everybody. That's what it's all about. Okay, my friends, you have a great evening. Until Friday, you stay safe, strong, and true. Rock on, and God bless, my friends. Have a great evening. Thanks for watching.